You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Inside the Battle to Save Christianity from MAGA Fundamentalists, based on an article by Alex Henderson. Christian nationalism is not a semantics problem, it is a power project. A recent Bulwark piece, summarized in the source material here, treats Christian nationalism as a sprawling, contested label that has ballooned inside the MAGA world, with online influencers, church networks, and a whole culture of coded masculinity attached to it. It also notes that many Catholics and mainline Protestants reject the ideology outright. That context matters, but the real story is simpler. This is not a debate about vocabulary. It is a struggle over who gets to claim moral authority while organizing political obedience. The fight is over authority. The central question is not what Christian nationalism means. The central question is who gets to speak for Christianity while pushing an authoritarian political program. The source material makes plain that this movement is not confined to abstract argument. It is heavily online and entrenched in small groups and churches, with its own media ecosystem, its own influencers, its own merchandise, and its own performance culture. That is not a philosophical dispute. That is institutional construction. It is what a movement looks like when it is trying to turn religious identity into political leverage. The definitions are the distraction. The article's authors are right that the label has become unstable, and that instability is useful to the movement. If every critic is forced to argue over a definition, the people doing the organizing get to keep building. That is the misdirection at work. Pundits chase the moving target. The movement keeps moving. The source even notes that online alarm and media coverage helped hard-right actors own the moniker for themselves. Whether that is fully causal or not, the broader pattern is clear. Confusion is not a bug. It is a shield. A label that can mean everything and nothing lets extremists deny the obvious while keeping the brand alive. Aesthetics are not harmless. The source dwells on the style of the movement for a reason. Beards, patriarchal posture, tradwife imagery, manosphere slang, soy as a lazy insult, even Christian nationalist athletic events. That is not incidental color. It is political theater. These signals are doing ideological work. They mark who belongs, who submits, and who is mocked as weak or degenerate. They normalize hierarchy by making domination look like culture. The performative aesthetics described in the source are how authoritarian politics becomes socially legible before it becomes formally organized. First comes the costume, then comes the discipline. The real divide inside Christianity. The source is also careful to note that many Catholics and mainline Protestants reject Christian nationalism, and that some Christian scholars have explicitly defended liberal democracy against it. That is the important divide, and it is not between religious and secular people. It is between those using Christianity to justify political domination and those trying to keep faith from being conscripted into it. That distinction should not be blurred for the comfort of reporters who want a tidy intra-Christian debate. The Democratic side here is not neutral or passive. It is actively resisting a malignant ideology that wants churches to become political supply chains for the far right. The source's use of the word fringe does not make the danger smaller, it makes the organizational ambition clearer. Fringe movements do not need majority support to do damage. They need entry points, funding, and institutional cowardice. What this story really shows, the larger pattern is familiar. The far right builds power by converting identity into grievance, grievance into community, and community into permission. It does not need coherence. It needs enough confusion to keep allies from naming the project honestly. Christian nationalism, as described here, is not just theology with politics attached. It is a recruitment system for hierarchy. It dresses domination in righteousness, then asks everyone else to pretend the fight is about interpretation. That is the oldest trick in authoritarian politics, make the demand for obedience sound like a moral disagreement. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article. With the automated voice of Sam, thanks for listening.